Welcome to this explainer on analyzing ideas and organizational patterns in a how-to essay. Whenever we read a procedural text that tells us how to do something, we aren't just reading words on a page. It's actually a lot like being a master architect reading a blueprint. We're looking at a carefully constructed structure. So let's deconstruct that structure together.
Here's our blueprint for today. We're going to cover central and supporting ideas, discover organizational patterns, introduce the nonfiction pyramid organizer, tackle a practice-safe school task, test your skills with a couple of self-check questions, and then wrap up with a quick recap and transfer prompt. Let's jump right in.
Section 1, Central and Supporting Ideas. To kick things off, we really have to identify the core building blocks of a text before we can figure out how it's all put together. Think of it this way. Just like a building absolutely needs a solid foundation, an informational text relies on a central idea. This is the overarching message. If you had to boil the whole text down to just one single sentence, that's your central idea. Then you have your supporting ideas. These are the specific details, steps, facts, and examples that actually hold up that foundation and make the central idea clear and believable to the reader.
And this perfectly illustrates our main goal for Grade 8 reading, specifically Standard RI .8.2. You're expected to not just find that central idea, but to analyze how it's actually developed. And why does this matter? Well, because true comprehension means seeing how specific details interact and build on one another to create a complete picture. We aren't just finding the foundation, we're figuring out exactly how the walls are built on top of it.
Section 2, Discovering Organizational Patterns. Now that we've got our building blocks, let's take a look at the framework that holds them all together. So, how do authors decide what goes where? They use 4 primary patterns, relying on specific signal words that act like structural joints to keep everything logical. In a how-to essay, sequence is super common. It moves chronologically using words like first and next. But authors also use cause and effect with words like because to explain why a step matters. They use compare and contrast to show similarities or differences, and problem and solution to tell you exactly what to do if an issue pops up. Keep an eye out for those signal words. They are your explicit evidence pointing right to the pattern. Let's clear up a massive misconception right now. A lot of readers think that if an essay is a chronological how-to guide, it only uses sequence. That's just not true. The reality is that complex texts weave these patterns together all the time. A single paragraph might be sequentially ordered overall, meaning sequence is its dominant pattern, but tucked right inside step 3, you might find a smaller problem and solution framework. Multiple patterns can absolutely live in one paragraph. Section 3, the nonfiction pyramid organizer. To help us map all this out, we're going to use a really handy visual tool to systematically break down the text.
Here's how the pyramid builds. We start at the top and move down to the base to interpret the text's evidence. First, we start broadly by identifying the central idea. Next, we list out the supporting details. After that, we scan the text and highlight those structural joints, the signal words. Finally, looking at all that evidence, we determine the dominant organizational pattern holding it all together.
Section 4, Practice Safe School Task. Okay, let's take our pyramid and actually apply it to a real-world scenario. Here's a short how-to paragraph about completing a safe school task. Listen closely and try to spot the central idea and those vital signal words as I read. To safely clean up a science lab, first, ensure all beakers are emptied into the designated waste bins. Because chemical residue can cause skin irritation, always wear safety goggles and gloves. Next, wipe down the tables with sanitizer. While standard classrooms only require light dusting, science labs require deep sanitation to prevent cross-contamination. If a spill occurs, the solution is to notify your teacher immediately rather than wiping it yourself.
Now, by applying the nonfiction pyramid, the structural blueprint becomes completely clear. The overarching central idea, safely executing a science lab cleanup. The supporting details are the actual action items, like emptying beakers and wearing gloves. But check out those signal words. First and next show sequence. Because gives us cause and effect. While creates a compare and contrast between standard classrooms and science labs. And if, combined with solution, flags a problem and solution dynamic. So, while the dominant pattern is clearly a sequence, it masterfully embeds the other 3 patterns right inside it.
Section 5, 2 self-check questions. All right, time for the inspection phase. Let's test your skills as a master architect. I've got 2 questions for you. Question 1, what is the dominant organizational pattern of the safe school task paragraph we just analyzed? Think about the overall purpose here and the primary framework holding all those sentences together. The answer is sequence. Even though we literally just saw other patterns in there, the primary framework holding the whole thing together was sequential. The overarching goal of the paragraph was to give you a chronological, step-by-step guide to cleaning up the lab. Okay, question 2. Which specific sentence from the text acts as explicit evidence of a problem and solution pattern embedded within that sequence? Think back and search for the exact sentence with the signal words that identify an issue and its fix. The answer is, if a spill occurs, the solution is to notify your teacher immediately rather than wiping it yourself. This is a brilliant illustration of how a single paragraph can weave a problem and solution dynamic right into the middle of a sequential step. It identifies a specific issue, a spill, and gives the exact action required to resolve it. Section 6, Recap and Transfer Prompt. Let's solidify this blueprint before you head out to the construction site on your own. Keep these 3 crucial things in mind. First, a how-to essay is built upon a central idea that's supported by specific, detailed building blocks. Second, authors use structures like sequence, cause and effect, compare and contrast, and problem and solution, often weaving multiple patterns into a single paragraph while one dominates. And finally, the nonfiction pyramid is a super reliable blueprint to map out these ideas and structures using textual evidence and signal words. All right, are you ready to prove your skills? Here is your transfer prompt. Apply the nonfiction pyramid organizer to an authorized informational how-to essay provided by your teacher. Find that invisible blueprint the author left behind. And as you do, ask yourself, if the way we organize information fundamentally changes how it's understood, how much power does the architect of a text really hold over our minds?